Hey everybody, today we're going to be discussing broken theory. This is a theory I've been thinking about a lot, and I think you guys are gonna. It's not going to be the most interesting lecture, but it's going to really showcase sort of God's intelligent design and sort of really emphasizing how, really emphasizing the different sides of human gender dynamics. I'm going to be explaining a little bit of practical things, but it's mostly going to be, like, I'm not sure the right word is metaphysical, but it's going to be focusing on human gender dynamics. And I think that is something pretty obvious, especially in biblical texts. Love thy wife like she is your own body, and respect thy husband. It's like First or Second Corinthians. But yeah, broken theory. I think this is gonna be old news to some people. That's gonna be new news to some people. So let's see how this goes. So broken theory is something I've been thinking about just by looking at the experience of my life as well as looking at the experience of the lives of some other men. So I guess now is not the time to type, but when I was younger, like when I was like 12 or 9, I think life was sort of like, it wasn't like a paradise, I think. Back then, what was I doing when I was 9 or 12? I was in middle school, but I would, that was the time when puberty started. I was getting a lot of acne and all that stuff. Like, my face was always oily. My face still is always oily. Actually, it's getting better, but yeah, I was getting a lot of acne and all that stuff. But basically puberty hit in, so I guess that was the time that I started really liking girls. Well, no, I liked girls before that since like kindergarten, but I guess that's when the testosterone or something kicked in. But I think when you're 9 or 12, like, you go out to the mall you go out to the mall, you see a bunch of girls, and it's like, I wouldn't say it's like a free for all. I think a free for all might go into I think life becomes a free for all at a certain stage, and I guess that's nuanced and doesn't happen to everyone. But it was sort of like as a guy, you would go, oh, what's the quote? I think the best quote to sum this up is like, people in New York, what do they say? They say they fall in love every day, and sort of that's the experience for the average man, average. I wouldn't say the average woman. The average woman has a very different experience from the average man, but the average man sort of when your game's like off average, not on point, it's sort of like you can basically fall in love with anybody. So I'm not sure if I'm taking this in the right direction, but because I'm trying to lead towards broken. I'm trying to lead towards broken. So basically, when a man isn't broken, I think it's interesting. When a man isn't when a man hasn't been through a lot in life, he can. I wouldn't say he can fall in love with just about anybody, but I think any woman looks very attractive and appealing to him. Like, there's no selectivity with it. Like, the guy isn't really picky. It's like you talk to maybe a 6. When I say 6, like 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. No offense. 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10, 5 out of 10. Like, every woman out there is like a butterfly or a snowflake or someone very special. So I guess the premises we laid down: a guy who hasn't been through a lot, a guy who's a little green. So green guys usually very attached to first love, and not that picky. Not that picky. And just looking at these premises, this is why a woman doesn't really respect a guy with no game, because he's not that picky. He could sort of fall in love with any girl given the right circumstances, given destiny, or given destiny, maybe they just run into each other at like back in the day it was like maybe running into each other at some Sky Zone event, become friends at a Sky Zone event, or you become friends at like some sort of after school event, and then that's how that connection or bond would start. But they're not that picky. So if you're not that picky, just having that premise as a part of your being, a woman's gonna lose respect for you there. And your love isn't special, because you basically fall in love with any girl given the right circumstances. But once you do fall in love, you become very attached to your first love. That's sort of what green guys go through. So it's one of the two key premises there that are part of green guys that make a woman lose respect. Your love isn't special, so that love, that sort of aphrodisiac that guys have, the guys are a source of. Men are sources of love, and it reflects in their friendships as well. You sort of lose that aphrodisiac because she sort of, although I think she's going to be very charmed, especially when you're attached to her, like how strong your love is. But sort of given the special circumstances, like some other girl could have been your first love if she really thought about that hard. But I guess the main premise that really gets to her is that you're not that picky. You probably don't have that many, and as a green guy, you don't have that many options as well. So that's how a woman loses respect for you there. But as I guess we're progressing more towards broken theory. As a man goes towards goes through more and more in life, understands more and more about life, understands more about the game, has been through a lot more in life, sort of, and maybe you go through so much, you reach the threshold where you're broken. You sort of become hyper selective. Like you're at the point where it's like you're not attracted to like no offense, like the 6s, the 7s, even like the 8.5s anymore. It's just it doesn't satisfy you like you used to. Like you're attracted, but you can't fall in love. And so as a guy progresses towards as a guy's game increases, and he progresses more towards he progresses away. I think this is a good way to frame it, because I'm going to use this again when I explain the female side of things. As a guy progresses away from his innocence, further and further away he goes down, the more he goes through, the more game he gets through, he becomes hyper selective. Like he only wants to talk to the best of the best, the 9s, the 10s. And so what comes with this is that his love becomes more special, because he becomes more hyper selective. He becomes more respectable because he's hyper selective, which it doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily translate those. I don't think those premises translate, but he has a lot more options. I think I'm not sure if I just hammered everything down, but yeah, once a guy progresses towards being more broken, like a broken guy, love becomes basically life is more than love. A guy that's green every guy that's green thinks life is about love, or that's sort of the premise of like if you watch like a rom-com or something that pops up on a Christmas show, like a lot of guys' life, or I think every guy's life is revolved around women to some degree, but looking at these rom-coms or Christmas movies, it's just everyday life. Like some guys are really revolved around the person, their love interest or something like that. And to be honest, I think that's sweet. It's sweet in a way, but I don't think it's right because there's so much. What did Jesus say? The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. There's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do. So that's a downside. Being kind of green, sort of easily. Your attention is really so much. Of your attention is dominated by like love in a way, which is there's pros and cons to that. If someone really sat down and think about it, if I gave it some more thought, I could probably list down some pros and cons. But that's usually how it goes. But yeah, I guess just to hammer down more concretely, um, guys, once they become more broken, become more hyper selective, but their love becomes more special because they don't fall in love with it just about anybody. But they're still sort of attracted to everybody because pretty is pretty, but their love becomes more special. He has a lot more options, and you sort of realize that life is more than love. Life is more than love. The guys sort of, I think men become easily detachable from love. Like you could be in love from someone, but could easily detach your love, distance yourself away from the love. Forget like that love ever existed. Your love is like after you've been through a lot, you got your heart broken a couple times as a guy, it's sort of able to detach yourself from that love. It's sort of love sort of becomes like this it's like a whip. It's like some sort of energy that you can use and harness. It's like it becomes like sort of energy. It's very interesting. But the female side of things, I think this is a lot more concrete. It might help me explain better the guy's side, but for a female side, you know, in the beginning, I think women don't want to talk to any random guy there. Hyper selective. I think they're really attached to their first love. I think that's always the case. But as a woman becomes more broken, like she's slept with tons and tons, like 1,000 guys, like an adult actress or something like that. So as a woman becomes more broken, she becomes less selective. So you see some of these adult actresses just sleep with any guy out there. Like any guy out there. And a woman's greatest love is probably giving, sort of like how God says, love me with all your heart, soul, strength, mind. Heart, strength, soul, heart, and mind. It's like in the book of Matthew or something like that. I'm not sure if it repeats throughout the Gospels. But I guess it's giving her body away. Sort of, once she's basically given her body away, her sort of soul, heart, and mind is attached to that, especially the first time. But you just see some. No, we already went over that point. So as women become more broken, she becomes less selective, and her love becomes less special. So taking this back to broken theory, just really organize everything. As men become more broken and they sort of become hyper selective, or as they start not hyper selective, the love becomes more special. Whereas in the beginning, your love is very conditional, situational. It's sort of destiny, sort of. Well, I think it's the same for women. Like sort of destiny happens to them, but when they become selective, they sort of start making your own luck in life, which on paper sounds pretty nice. And you're sort of able to detach from your love. Your love isn't something that controls you. You're able to detach it and reattach to it, which is interesting. It becomes sort of like an accessory or a tool in a way. Attach and reattach yourself. could break your own heart again or unbreak your own heart, which is very it's very it's very interesting how, like, to harness the energy. It's very interesting. And a woman is hyper selective. So it's the opposite from a guy. So a guy, as he becomes more broken, he becomes hyper selective. But in the beginning, okay, this is the juxtaposition. This is what we're looking for. This is gonna make it a lot easier to understand. So a woman in the beginning, she's hyper selective. She won't talk to just any guy out there. But I think the same for a guy. She's really attached to her first love. I think everyone's sort of attached to their first love. But women are super hyper selective in the beginning. And unlike guys who aren't that picky, like sort of life happens to them. So the women are pretty picky. They sort of happen upon life in the beginning because, to be honest, she's sort of picking the guy. Like destiny, and maybe destiny plays a part, but she's sort of picking the guy. So women are pretty picky in the beginning. But as women, unlike men, like when men become more broken, they become more hyper selective. Like they can only potentially fall in love with the best of the best, nines, tens. You gotta be nice too. So, but as a woman becomes more broken, she becomes less selective. I'm sure she still has some like maybe a slight preference to some of the best guys out there, but she could basically find something special in any guy, sleep with any guy, like the adult actresses that we mentioned before. And I haven't met any. I don't think I've met any adult actresses in my life. I met a couple. I met a good amount of. But yeah, it's not like, I don't think I've met that adult actress type of level, like 1,000 plus. Yeah. And her love becomes less special. Her love becomes less special because she gives her body away to any guy. So taking this back to the to two premises we established before: man is the imager of God, and woman is the imager of the human race. So as man becomes more godlike, as a man increases his game, gets more understanding in life, goes through more trials in life, you sort of become closer and closer to becoming godlike. Just like reaching that perfection, reaching that sort of strength. Your strength becomes, it's so far compared to our Creator, but you get a teensy bit closer to being like God. You get a teensy bit closer to being God. Sort of godlike in a way, if that's appropriate to say. So this really represents God in a way. As a lesser being, the farther away you are from God, you're sort of not that picky, so you have less standards. You have less standards for women. You have less standards in a way for the human race. Because you're a lesser God, we're not even perfect. But as you become more godlike, you have higher standards for people. And as you become God, you expect perfection from the human race, or else they'll be punished through death, punished with eternal torture. So it's a very interesting dynamic there. As a man becomes more godlike, he becomes more selective. Just like as God doesn't become a god, like God is perfect. So God is the epitome of man, in a way. God is the epitome of epitome. He is not just even hyper selective. He expects perfection from woman or the human race. He expects perfection out of the human race. Obey my every command. You have to be like this to enter into the kingdom of heaven. That is very interesting. And we have the other side as woman as the imager of the human race. So a woman in the beginning, when I guess I should have put out there because this is a very important part, when she's at her, I guess, most innocent, when she has her soul really intact, when she has the best character. That's so nuanced, but I guess maybe when her soul is intact, she's very hyper selective. And this is sort of, this translates to the human race side of things, because woman as image of the human race. When the human race's soul morality is on point, they really chase the perfect. When they really chase goodness and chase love, they often find Jesus Christ, our perfect Lord and Savior. They only want to worship the best God, because the greatest God out there, compared to all the other gods of different religions, because they have the character, they have the value, they have the innocence in a way. Innocence, so that's a okay way to describe it. And so they want the best. They only want a sort of a God that aligns with their values, aligns with their hyper morals. And taking this to the other side, as a woman becomes more broken, right? Or as the human race becomes more broken, as the human race loses its soul, the human race becomes less selective. We start, right now, of course, we're in like a more decline. And we could easily go back up, but then society keeps pushing it down. Society keeps just pushing immorality. And so the human race, as it becomes more broken, and this is congruent with women, they sort of become less selective in sort of who they worship or who they respect in any sense. Like as a human race, we worship, like we start making up a bunch of stuff. Like we have transgenderism now, we have LGBTQ plus, we have non-binary, binary, we have pantheism, we worship the plants, you worship the earth. And there's so many new religions out there, like the worship of the self. There's Satanism out there. So now there's a plethora of new religions and new ideas. And people are a lot less selective with what they worship. And her love becomes less special. Like people are hopping from like religion to religion nowadays. Just really trying to, it's a sort of coming of age, it's sort of like learning and discovering about yourself, but also it's like sort of when morality is in decline, it definitely becomes less clear who is the true, what is the perfect religion out there, what is the true religion out there. And that's sort of interesting how this, sort of how human gender dynamics plays out, and how it's sort of a reflection of God in the human race. And yeah, woman, God, men are definitely images of God, and women are definitely, I think in Genesis it talks about how women are helpers of men, but if we connect it back to the premise that we have that women is our imagers of the human race, God doesn't need our help. We need him, but men sort of need woman in a way to procreate and to produce the human race. That's a side tangent, but woman is essentially the image bearer of the human race, because we receive God's love just like woman receives love from man. So that's sort of how that premise is laid about. And some practical advice. So taking this back to scripture, I think this is very interesting. Sometimes we have meetings between sometimes we have interesting meetings that sort of really much reflect this theory. Like the most famous meeting of all is Jesus and the woman at the well. We have God, the epitome of masculinity, meeting sort of a broken woman, the woman at the well, who was on pretty sure her fifth husband. And Jesus told her, yeah, you're on your fifth husband or something like that, and you had 4 others before. And she asked him, like, are you a prophet? I think the conversation ended with, sin no more, my daughter, or something like that. And in more popular culture today, we have Andrew, who met with the adult actress Bonnie Blue recently. And so we have sort of the hyper-masculine, using broken theory to quote-unquote broken souls in a way. But for a guy, it's good for your soul to be broken. keeps you, makes you a lot stronger as a guy, which is always good. Makes you more capable. And so it's very interesting how history repeats itself. We have Andrew, who met Bonnie Blue recently, a hyper-masculine, or sort of hyper-masculine being sort of a male version of the broken soul meeting a female version of the broken soul. And what's very interesting is that from both sides of things, like if you're ever if you're a guy that's been through a lot and you meet a woman that's been through a lot in terms of body count and a lot of other stuff, you sort of share a similar understanding in the world that there's a lot more to life than love, and you can easily detach yourself from that love. So I think it's actually going to be very satisfying if I ever meet an adult actress. I think just sort of having that mutual understanding of each other that we've been through some stuff and that life is more than love. There's a lot more to life than love, and we can sort of easily detach ourselves. I think so. There was sort of that mutual understanding there, and this is I'm not sure if I'll make that stretch, but I think it's interesting. I think it's bound to happen because human nature is always going to be the same. So there's always going to be apparitions of different situations, because humans, of course, human nature with humans being sinners as well, there's going to be paths certain people take in life, and sometimes they're bound to intersect. But to me, it's very interesting how history rhymes. Certain things happen again, and I'm glad I have some examples for this, for explaining broken gender dynamics, broken theory. That's the easy. Maybe it's not even the right nomenclature, but it's just easy terminology to remember by. So yeah, that's that lecture. Definitely I hope you sort of see the beauty and sort of just us being image bearers, how we're a reflection of God, God and the human race in a way, sources of love, sources of respect. And practical advice, yeah, for a guy, definitely, I think, this is a separate video, but definitely always try to get your game on point, because it's going to make you a lot less focused on love, which is good to some degree, and start focusing on the more important things in life, like spreading the gospel, helping others, making the world a better place, fighting the good fight. And as a woman, try to avoid becoming broken, because once you go, well, this is nuanced in a way, because this is nuanced in a way, but yeah, definitely avoid losing your soul, because it's not good. So yeah, that's some practical advice there, and I think people understand women, sort of what happens when women become broken, but not a lot of people have that understanding when men become broken, because there's not, I guess another premise like that, there's more broken women out there than there are broken men, which is interesting. It's actually pretty interesting. That could be another separate topic on why that's the case. Off the top of my head, I can't give a satisfying answer, but it's very, more broken women that are broken than there are broken men. Actually, I think I have something, but yeah, I have something. Actually, yeah, I have something. Might as well give it now. It's because learning the game for the guy is pretty hard. Like, usually a guy has to, in a way, sometimes destiny happens, but a guy chooses to go through trials and challenges. He makes the personal choice to become who he is. And a woman, sometimes life sort of happens to them. Or sometimes she does make the personal choice to become broken. Guys, the path that guys choose and the trials along that path is a lot harder. It's a way, way more harder than what women go through to become broken. And yeah, hope you enjoy this lecture. And as always, stay safe, stay blessed.